Hello there and welcome to Black Jackal Gaming. We're going to take a look at Darnath Lysander, who is the first company captain for the Imperial Fists. Now he's got a really good durability profile, so he can stay around for a large amount of the game. And he's got a once a game ability to make himself almost invincible with a 2-up and vulnerable save. He can make Terminators very hard to shift and make them even more durable than they currently are. He's got a decent melee weapon profile, but there's no ranged option currently on his build. Unfortunately, he's also not on true scale Terminator armor, so we might get a new model at some point, or he might unfortunately be moved to Legends, but for now, for 10th edition, he is in the Codex and he can be used. Looking at his datasheet, he comes in at 100 points, and of course he is an epic hero, so you can only take one in your army. He comes with a 5-inch movement, toughness 5, 2-up save, 6 wounds, leadership 6 and 1 objective control. He does also have that 4-up and vulnerable save that all captains have and all Terminators have as well. He does have the deep strike keyword, so he can deep strike from turn 2 onwards with the Terminators, so they can come in anywhere on the battlefield outside 9 inches of an enemy unit. He can lead Terminators as well as assault Terminators. As he doesn't have a range profile, we'll go straight onto his melee profile, which comes in at weapon skill 2+, and he has the Fist of Dawn, which is a thunder hammer essentially, and has devastating wounds, so any critical wounds will automatically bypass the save throw of your opponent's model. This comes in at 5 attacks, a quite nice strength 10, -3 AP and 3 damage, so a fairly good profile for him to have. Looking at his abilities, he has 2, the first being Icon of Obstinacy. So while he's leading a unit, anytime it's targeted for an attack that has equal strength or higher, so strength 5 or above, you subtract 1 from the wound roll, so there'd be -1 to wound at all points for weapons that are essentially going to be targeting the unit. And once per battle, he also has an ability where at the start of the phase, he can use this and have a 2-up and vulnerable save. So this is quite good if you're in a bit of a dire circumstance and you think he's going to be left on his own and be targeted. So to give him up that 2-up and vulnerable save will almost essentially keep him around unless the firepower coming on to him is that high in just firepower alone as well as damage output. So it only takes a couple of shots to go through that D6 damage or more, and you could get unlucky, but on that 2-up and vulnerable save, he should stay relatively safe. So they are 2 quite solid abilities. The first one being the -1 to wound. That's going to add a great amount of durability to the unit. That's a top tier ability. The other one is just a nice little niche ability that might come up every now and then. A lot of the time, especially if you're in a 10-man brick, you're not going to be using that 2-up and vulnerable save unless there's some precision attacks coming in at you. Then it would be quite beneficial, especially if you want to keep that brick solid with that -1 to wound. So what buffs and combos can you give to Lysander? So really you want to pair him with the Assault Terminators and give them Storm Shields because you can get the most durability out of them. If you then pop on the Armor of Contempt strap with them, and they've got the benefits of cover, it makes them very difficult to move because you essentially remove them 2 AP from any incoming shots coming at you. So the majority of the game, the weapons that are going to be targeting Terminators are not going to be that beneficial going into them. And if you couple them with the Vanguard Spearhead detachment, you also get outside of 12 inches stealth, so you're -1 to hit, and you get the benefits of cover as well, so you don't have to be within a terrain feature or using it to block line of sight. As well as that, you get the -1 to wound for strength 5 weapons and above via Lysander's ability. And so when you've got Armor of Contempt potentially, and you've already got the benefits of cover, you're going to be reducing the AP by 2. So anything that's coming in at AP 2 or less, you're going to be on your 2-up save. Anything more is going to push you onto 3, maybe 4, and it's going to be very hard to shift them because they are 4 wounds per model with the Storm Shield. So a lot of weapons that are going into them will be 2 or 3 damage. So you're going to have to put a lot of firepower into these guys to remove them from an objective. The standard profile is the 2-up, 4-up, and with Lysander you do have that once a game of that 2-up, 2-up, which is very nice. So if you put a 10-man brick there, it's almost impossible to shift them because you've essentially got 40 wounds in the Terminators on a 2-up, 4-up, potentially -1 to hit, -1 to wound, and ignoring 2 AP, as well as Lysander himself on the 2-up, 4-up with the 6 wounds. And they've got a great melee threat. You've got 10 Thundermap hammers in there and the Hammer of Dawn. So if anyone wants to put some firepower into them and then come into them and try and finish them off in melee, they're actually going to have a bit of difficulty because not only they're hard to shift, you're going to have the ability to hit them back with all these Thunder Hammers as well. So it's a great little unit to have. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, being 100 points for him. And you're looking at around circa 190-95 points for the Assault Terminators. Per 5-man, but you are putting them on an objective and they will hold down that objective for almost the entire game. The only thing that's going to really affect them is potentially devastating wounds and mortal wounds, because they will bypass your save, unfortunately. But apart from that, 10-man and Lysander, and even if you kill Lysander, you are not moving these from the game unless you put a substantial amount of firepower into them. And if you do, that's probably good for the Space Marine player, because it means that they get to utilize the rest of the army and they can punch you back really hard, go take objectives, go score secondaries while you're concentrating on a brick that really you should probably ignore and just let them have the objective for the entire game. Now, with the other new character Terminator models that we saw at the release at the end of last year, being the Captain, the Chaplain and the Librarian, you do have a lot of options for the Terminators now to buff them, especially offensively, because there's the ability to have the free strats, the +1 to wound via the Chaplain, as well as the sustained hits via the Librarian. So there are ways to have a greater damage output, but Lysander's basically there just to make them more durable and create a brick that can't be moved. They are the shield that guards the realms of man. Thanks for watching the video. Hit the like and subscribe button if you liked what you watched. Come support me by getting a membership. You get access to videos at least a day before they're generally launched. Or come across to Patreon, where I generally blog and there's memes going on. And there's a couple of extra goodies as well. The free membership on Patreon gives you access to the majority of things on it. The extra goodies and the odd post here there is for paid memberships. But come along, get access to the free membership and check out what's going on. Check out these other videos and I'll see you next time.